Hi, people. I want to read from you. I'm going to read this to you. Over the past 3 decades, I'm reading a law review article from Stanford because you might not read it on your own. I mean, you might, but you might not. Over the past 3 decades, no development in the legal services industry has been more widely observed and less carefully scrutinized than the emergence of firms I call, quote, settlement mills, high volume personal injury law practices that aggressively advertise and mass produce the resolution of claims, typically with little client interaction and without initiating lawsuits, much less taking claims to trial. Settlement mills process tens of thousands of claims each year. Their ads are fixtures on late night television and big city billboards, but their operations have been largely ignored by the academic literature, leaving a sizable gap in what is known about the delivery of contemporary legal services in the United States. That was written by a Stanford Law Review professor. Let me quick turn around the phone real quick. If you see, let's go up to the top. See there, Nora Freeman Engstrom article. She's a professor at Stanford University. Coming back to me. And she goes through, it's an 82-page article. I want to go through this step by step because I think it is so important for you to understand. But just that opening paragraph that talks about less scrutinized, or whatever it was, less carefully scrutinized, is crazy. And what is happening, and I have said this before, is these firms are not actually practicing law. They aren't. They can't, because it's in such high volume that they have to do a cookie cutter approach. They couldn't, with the number of lawyers that they have, handle cases, what I call, and what I think she calls in this article, I'm going to be rereading it because I want to do a whole series on it, but what I call the old-fashioned practice of law. It's what I learned in law school. It's a deep, highly complex procedure. A lawsuit is it's many procedures and many different laws and lots of evidence and lots of arguments over the span of, like, we just settled a case that it was unusual and that it took 6 years. It was a huge injury case, but so most aren't that long, but some can be a year or two. Some can be a little bit longer. It depends on the extent of the injuries and really what happened in the accident. How much of an argument is there that the person, the driver was at, the person who's injured was at fault versus the other was at fault, or is there some shared fault? And then what's the extent of their injuries? Also, what's the insurance coverage and things like that? It can be, they're all complex in their own way, but it just kind of depends. Sort of almost like an easy rule of thumb is the more money there is to fight about, the longer the fight's usually going to be. But it was still unusual that it was this long. But anyway, we settled that case after all kinds of work had been done on the case. That is not what a high volume settlement mill firm does. They don't collect evidence trying to prove each case that they handle. They don't collect evidence trying to prove that your injuries have affected your life more severely than the next person. They don't try to prove, hey, this prevented this person from doing their job, and here's how much lost income they have. And also, by the way, they used to go to the gym and now they can't do that. And they used to pick up their grandchild and now they can't do that. And, on and on. It has affected their relationship and all kinds of things. They also, don't dig into proving exactly how the accident happened with an accident reconstruction, expert and all kinds of experts proving various aspects of the case. They don't need to do that because they kind of have a wink, wink deal with the insurance companies, an unspoken deal. It helps the insurance companies. Their method of practicing law helps the insurance companies, and she does get into that in this article. And then it's like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. The insurance companies know that if these people actually were practicing law with these cases for moderate and serious injuries, they would have to pay a lot more. And they know that. So they're thrilled to write a check, stroke a check for far less than the case should be worth to get rid of it. And that allows a high volume firm to keep on trucking without the nuisance, the annoyance of the uncertainty of actually practicing law. They don't have to do that. So they undercut their clients. The insurance company pays less, so they're happy. They know that it would be more if there was a firm that was actually fighting on a majority of these cases. And so it's a win-win for the high volume firm and for the insurance company, but it is not a win for the client. It is not a win. And so my goal is to go through this article. I'm going to get started. I'm going through this article to make, I don't know if it's going to be a series or one long video talking about the details. You need to know the details of what came up in the study. Sorry. Turn off my alarm for dinner. You need to know what happened in this study. You need to know what was the evidence and everything. I mean, unless you just believe me, which is what you should really do. If you're looking for a lawyer, you should give us a call. But I want to prove it. I want to prove that you should not hire the Billboard or the TV advertising lawyers. You should hire a lawyer who's actually going to practice law on your behalf. Now, there was actually one exception. I'm going to be full disclosure honest, and I'm going to share details of this article, so you'll find out anyway. But it was in minor injury cases. For minor injury cases, maybe they got a little more because I don't know why, but they did. But it was in moderate to severe or catastrophic injury cases where they did not. So take that for what it's worth, or it was the same. I don't know if it was the same or a little more. I really don't remember. But the point is, if you have a case of any significance, and even if you don't, even if you think, well, my injuries are kind of minor, let me just tell you, you don't really know with a lot of neck, back stuff what's going to happen down the line. Sometimes we're there just for protection. We're there to make sure that if things do get worse, you're protected. But yeah, so we'll see. I want to go through this, and I hope that our article intro interests you enough to subscribe so that you can hear the rest of the story about what happened, what she found in this law review article, and what you should do about it. So, all right, take care.